Okay,
Another episode.
here we are back, and we have our special guest back with us, Jason Delatte. Welcome back, Jason. We wanted to finish up our conversation that we were talking to you about hiring an admin and growing our empire from there.
Leveraging.
That's the key word, leveraging.
So what were some of the limiting beliefs you had around hiring your first assistant or admin?
Well, the admin, that was my first hire, the assistant. I guess the number one limiting belief, and I kind of shared it on the first episode, was can I afford this person?
Yeah.
And do all the things that I need to do to build a business. And so I've quickly realized that, in order for me to scale, it's like juggling multiple things, and I was dropping opportunities. I was dropping the ball on revenue.
Wow.
And that's what made me realize, and I read a book, and not that I'm plugging a book, but it's called Rocket Fuel was the book.
Yes.
Yeah.
Rocket Fuel it talks about there's visionaries and then there's integrators. And so when I never had heard that concept, like, man, as a visionary, I'm always thinking down the road, 2 years, 5 years. And I've always told my wife, man, if I could just find somebody to take all this information in my mind and just put it down on paper and integrate this stuff, I'd be, and I now realize that's what an assistant does. That's what an admin.
And that's literally how you train them, right? Because the first thing that MREA, the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book, teaches us is the way you educate your assistant is you tell them to follow you around with a steno pad. And if they follow you around for 90 days,
hey, Jeffrey, I'm sorry. What's a steno pad?
Okay, with their notes app.
Oh,
open.
With an iPad. Okay,
and they
I get
should
it now.
be building the
training manual. Yeah.
Okay, for how your business runs and which you do. And then when a PIR comes back, here's how you format a response. Here's how that works. Here's what that means. And we need to, as leaders, give them time to go be working on that every day after they do something.
And one of my professors in college talked about, like, if I get hit by a beer truck or another freight train, in my example, who does what? And so looking back when I was like an assistant or a marketing director or anything like that, I had taken that to heart and started to write my own manual of, like, this is how you do my job step by step. So in the event that for me actually happened.
But how many of us are actually good at writing a manual?
Yeah, somebody could take that over. And so with an assistant, that's exactly what you're saying. So follow me around and write this down.
So they do it. They take your practices and they make them official, right? And then they start to own the job. And worst case, if this person doesn't work out,
you've got a manual.
You've got the start of a training manual that the next person can pick up and actually learn, and all your time wasn't for nothing.
Yeah, that was definitely another limiting belief. It's like, okay, yes, I know I need help, but I don't have a manual. So I have to first create the manual before I get to hire, right? And so no, it was like, write down what I do. That's my process. And she makes it look pretty and puts it on, PDF forms and all that. But I mean, like, another book that I read, I would recommend is Who Not How, right? And I think that might be where you got that from, Adam. It's like, if you were literally incapacitated and taken out of your business for 30 days, how long would it survive? It was the hit by a bus test. And I hate to say it, but we know the failure rate of real estate agents, and their business couldn't. We saw that in COVID. How many people had to fold after 60, 90 days?
Well, I got another question for you. How many agents can't continue their business after they do their first big deal? They end up starting from scratch all over again.
Yeah.
They get a big deal. They get a few big deals. And this happens to agents that have been in the business for more than a few years. They get 3 deals that kind of all hit at the same time. And then they literally,
take their foot off the gas.
They take their they can't do anything else besides push these deals down the road because they have no assist. They have no help.
Well, I've seen it both ways, where they kind of take the foot off the gas and like, oh, we're good. And then they buy a new Beamer. They buy, like start buying things.
Well, sure.
Then I've also seen the other way where people take it and then reinvest it into their business unwisely. And they think that, oh, well, as long as I'm buying this or spending money on this or doing this.
$4,000 a month of Zillow leads. If I just close one more property a month, I'll be fine.
Yeah.
It's like, that's a big deal when you're not closing 12 a year.
Mm-hmm.
No, but when I sat down and just started writing down the things that, man, if I could just find somebody to do this, right? Just like number one, just track my business. Like, where is this even lead coming from? Tracking my business, managing and tracking our vendors. We use the same title company, lenders, coordinating that type of stuff. I don't know, launching listings, managing my pipeline, marketing. Like, there's so many things that I was having to do that I could just little by little get that to somebody else.
Exactly. How often are you, I mean, it's no fun showing up on Sunday to do an open house as it is, right? But what if it was done for you?
Mm-hmm.
What if you did 2 open houses every Sunday, but your admin goes and sets it up, you show up, you do it. And while you're at that open house, he or she's going to the next one that you're going to do right after and prepping that. So you can go do that. And if you're going to be away from your family for 6-8 hours on a,
right,
4 to 8 hours on a Sunday, then at least it was really high value activities. And what are you looking for the whole time? You indoctrinate the whole team to know that what they're trying to do is when they park their car and they meet a neighbor, learn what they can, who's going to buy, who's going to sell next, who's moving, who just got a promotion on the street. Learn all those things. That's really, really valuable stuff.
Well, so with everybody working from home nowadays, and I myself have had multiple assistants in the Philippines. I think the most was 4 or 5 at one time. What are your thoughts on something like that? Should my first hire be somebody in the Philippines because it's quick, cheap, and easy?
That's a great point. I was hoping you would touch that, because, man, so let's answer the question, where do you find them? Right. And so in the virtual era, or whatever you want to call it, right, age that we live in, there are a lot of companies overseas, who are literally willing to stay up during our hours, sleep on flip flop. And so maybe starting off virtual, is the way to start, right? It's a small base salary, very low. The thing for me is the language barrier. I would interview multiple ones to make sure that they spoke fluid English, because I know me personally, if I get a phone call from a number I don't, and not any disrespect from any foreign speaking people, but they starts talking, I'm like, all right, this is already a sales call. This is not somebody I know in my sphere. And so, but there are a lot of companies out there, virtual desk, agent desk. I mean, I can rattle off 2 or 3.
Yeah.
But, it all depends on the value proposition to the agent. I rather somebody that I can just reach over and say, hey, did we email so-and-so and so? That's valuable to me, versus having an email to somebody across the Great Lakes. Every value proposition is different for every person.
Yeah. Look, I love virtual assistants. I've had them over the years. A few things have changed for me. The first thing is when I first started hiring virtual assistants, the average salary for a virtual assistant was $2.20 an hour.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Okay.
Did you start in the 80s?
No, it was 5 years ago.
Oh, wow.
So there's been lots of changes.
Mine was more than that.
And now rates, labor rates have gone up in the United States as well. But you end up with a different set of problems. I always needed to find a VA that has an iPhone. They charge the same for the iPhone in the Philippines as they do in the United States.
Why do you need an iPhone?
Well, because you're communicating with them all the time. So I want iMessage to work. I want to just FaceTime. I don't want to have to jump on a Zoom, like start up a Zoom. I don't want to have to start up a Skype call or something like that. I just want it to be really fast and native, as if they are just around the corner.
So have somebody who works with the same technology that you work with on a daily basis.
I want to just be able to share things a simple, easy way and not get all bogged down technology.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I think there becomes this time where you have to make a bet on yourself, though. And the bet on myself is I'm going to make this financial risk, okay, because I believe I can get the more out of the person if they're right here. I can send them across town to get keys. I can send them to start an open house for me. I can send them to do blah, 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 blah. being able to drive, being able to do things in town helps a whole lot as far as that leverage list.
Yeah. I think the virtual assistant just at this point gives, I guess for me, takes all excuses off the table. Like you have no excuse. You can go live or you can go virtual. Just get an assistant.
And there's ways to get virtual assistants that aren't full time. I mean, you can go use, if you just want to find good graphic services, like Box Brownie, or some of these Fiverr, great resources that you can go to the same people over and over and over again once they learn your stuff. But really, at the end of the day, I don't find we're needing those kinds of things as much anymore. When you've got tools like Command.
Now, would you actually have to hire a full-time or even part-time assistant if you had like a local, I know in Florida, we had a transaction coordinator. We could hire her for $500 a transaction, or no, $400 a transaction.
That's
and that
another
took a lot of paperwork
breaking it
off.
up.
Yeah. Is that good leverage? Have you done something like that? What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, no, I think a TC is definitely valuable because again, man, we didn't get into this business to push paper around. I got into this business because I wanted to literally, my vision statement, right, is simple: helping people transition to their next. That's it, because that's what it's about, life transition. You go from being in an apartment, transition to a first-time home buyer, right? So now you need a bigger house, you got kids, now you transition to a bigger one. Now all the kids have left, we're going to transition to a smaller one. I just want to go help as many people possible transition to their next.
Yeah.
None of that vision statement had anything to do with admin, paperwork, emails. And so the TC was definitely valuable. I did that. I hired it because the good thing about the TC is you pay that when it closes. It's not it's not a monthly, weekly expense. So that's, if that's a person's first form of an assistant to take, like Jeffrey said, right, that 30% off of the admin stuff, start with that. And once you close on it, then you pay it. Then you'll get to realize how much more that person is really helping benefit, your leverage.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, my challenge with breaking it up, whether it's a TC, whether it's a graphics person, it's third party, all this kind of stuff, is we never got that cohesive Deuce on team experience or Delatte difference because we couldn't train that in. We couldn't train that method. And I was still in the middle of everything and having to sort out who gets what. And I never cleared up. It was always the person still keeping the trains on time. And I was never able to empower one person to be, I could never just toss my cell phone and say, hey, I'm going to be going for a little while. Take this.
Well, so with that in mind, Jason, can I ask the tough question of how was it the first time you fired someone?
I am a borderline ID. I'm I when you meet me. Let's go have lunch. Let's go do this. But when it comes to my business, I can switch to a D very quickly to the point where I don't like that side of myself, right? And so I never had an issue going into that. I think what I've learned is the only reason it was difficult for me was when I didn't set the right expectations. I wasn't honest and intentional upfront on what the job entails. And so I was always running behind them, apologizing. I've learned this is the task. We're going to set 30, 60, 90-day little evals to see, are we up to where you are? And then if not, then, this is simply a business decision, not personal. This is what I've learned in this, guys. And this is not a mic drop moment, but for me, it was. I understand that systems run your business and people run your systems.
Wow.
There you go.
All right. Thank you guys for listening. I hope you join us next week.
That's some great wisdom there. And I think the other answer, Adam, is there was never a great firing.
Right.
It always sucks.
Yeah.
The worst fire was when I fired my wife. Well, we just couldn't be.
She's still filing for unemployment.
We just couldn't, we just couldn't both run that schedule. And we realized as a family unit that she was more valuable being a mom. She was more valuable being a wife, and so look, you're off the team, I need to, have peace in my home at night, and talk about other things other than, addendum.
Yeah, it's a whole different skill set when you bring your spouse in. We could start a new podcast on that.
Yeah.
Well, all right. Well, maybe next time we'll touch on some issues around where to find people, how to hire them, how to pay them. But I think this was awesome.
Yeah, it was great. Jason, thank you so much for joining us. And for everybody listening, we'll go ahead and put Jason's information down
in the show notes.
Yeah, in the description, so you guys can contact him if you're looking to buy, sell, or invest, or even ask him questions about hiring. He's definitely awesome. All right. Well, thank you, Jason.
Thank you, Jason.
Hey, man, appreciate you guys. You have a good one.
Thank you,
Good
Jason.
job, guys.
See ya.